of the study, but a reasonable number of books which satisfy the standards laid down should be recommended, leaving this choice of the schools concerned. In this case of languages, however, definite textbook should be prescribed for each class to ensure proper gra gradation. No book prescribed as a textbook or as a book for the general study should contain any passage or statement which might offend the religious or social susceptibilities of any section of the community, or might intimidate the minds of the young students with particular political or religious ideologies. That is an important thing you have to write there. Frequent changes in the textbooks and books prescribed for the study should be discouraged. There should not be a frequent change in the textbooks curriculum. It should be for a longer period. If it in case it is very necessary, then there should be a change in the textbook. So one of the important point here is no book prescribed as a textbook or as a book for a general study should contain any passage or statement which might offend the religious or social susceptibilities of any section of the community, or might intimidate the minds of the young students with a particular this even I personally agree to this kind of points, because nowadays the education system has changed, and it is completely, you know, raising the young minds, putting them into the different context of the life. So the religious things are coming up, and you can see all over our India. It is not the same as we were when we were the childhood, because you cannot see the pledge also in some schools. There is no pledge going on in the school, like all Indians are my brothers and sisters. When you feel like all Indians are your brothers and sisters, there is no religion barrier. No religion comes in the school, in the education. The religion thing will come only when you go back to your home. So these points nobody is talking nowadays. So I think they have missed out the bigger part, and they're concentrating and taking care of the smaller issue when the bigger issue is clearly visible. So they are not concentrating it in. If the textbooks are should be in such a way that they are not offending any religious system or any social susceptibilities of any section. So that is very important. Community or might intimidate the minds of the, so you're not spoiling the small innocent minds, naive children. So the naive children will come and sit in front of you. The children will be listening. The textbook should be in such a way that it should not offend any of the religion or social susceptibilities. That is an important point when you are taking care of the textbooks. So the next one is dynamic methods of teaching. The methods of teaching in school should aim not merely at the imparting of the knowledge in any efficient manner, but also at inculcating describable values and proper attitudes and habits of the work in the students. The emphasis in teaching should shift from verbalism and memorization to learning through purposeful, concentrate, and realistic situation. So just by hearting, don't give, no, the teaching should be in such a way, not in a verbalization or memorization way. It should be much of a purposeful, concrete and realistic situation. And for this purpose, the principles of activity method and the project method should be taken care in. The dynamic methods of the teaching should be assimilated in school practice. In the teaching of all the subjects, special stress should be placed on clear thinking and clear expression, both in speech and writing. A well thought out attempt should be made to adopt methods of instruction to the needs of individual students as much as possible, so that dull, average, and bright students may all have chance to progress at their own pace. So that is also very important point here. Students should be given adequate opportunity to work in groups and to carry out group projects so as to develop in them the qualities necessary for the group life and the cooperative work. So it's kind of life skills. So even every secondary school should have all equipped school library, class libraries and subject libraries should be utilized. These points are emphasizing mostly on the dynamic methods of teaching. There are two important dynamic methods of teaching here we are discussing, that is active method and project method. So children, it is nothing but children are just not confined to their seats, but they are in an active mode, and when you are doing the project they are in a cooperative mode. So thinking, creative thinking and expressions both in speech and writing will be taken care in this dynamic methods of teaching. Those are two things that is we need to write about: activity and project method. So all well thought out attempts should be made to adapt methods of instruction to the needs of individual students. So some in the class, there are brighter students and the poor students. So everyone should have their own pace for the progress. So that is to be taken care. So these commissions were standardized and were so much given importance in the period of when the chairperson was Dr. A. Lakshman Swami. The next one is discipline. The education of character should be envisaged as a responsibility of all teachers and should be provided through every single aspect of school program. In order to promote discipline, personal contact between teacher and the student and the people should be strengthened. Self-government in the form of house system with prefects or monitors and student councils whose responsible will be to draw up a code of conduct and enforce its observance should be introduced in all the schools. We already come across these things. We all have that conduct certificate. From whenever we are leaving the school, we'll get the conduct certificate. So how is the conduct of a child? So the discipline was also added from the time of that commission started. So religious and moral structure, moral instruction was also a part of the education system in those days. What is a religious and moral instruction? Religious instruction may be given in schools only on a voluntary basis. If voluntary basis is nothing but if a children wants it, they'll give it, or else that means they have a separate classes for them on the voluntary basis. And outside the regular school hours, such instruction being confined to the children of a particular faith concern and given with the consent of the parents and the management. That is what we already know that. So I don't want to elaborate it. Extracurricular activities also given much importance. Extracurricular activities should form integral part of the education imparted in the school as well. And all the teachers should devote a defined time to such activities. The next one is so the next one is a new approach to examination and evaluation. A new approach to examination and evaluation. The number of examinations should be reduced, and the element of subjectivity in the essay types tests should be minimized by introducing objective tests. So objective tests were the new tests. Here, new approach of examination evaluation is nothing but the objective type tests. So they are trying to decrease questions like the bigger questions, the essay type questions here, and minimize by introducing the objective type tests. In the final assessment of the pupils, due credit should be given to the internal tests and the school records of the pupils. The system of symbolic rather than the numerical marking should be adopted. So that marking, system of a simple way of marking and the number wise marking. There should be only one public examination at the completion of the secondary school course. So this is a new approach of examination, which is nothing but the objective type test. Improvement of the teaching personnel. The normal period of probation for a trained teacher should be 1 year. Those the training period was 1 year. The teachers possessing the qualifications and performing the same type of work should be treated on a par in the matter of grades of a salary, irrespective of the type of institution in which they are working. The system of triple benefit scheme. What is a triple benefit scheme? Pension come provident fund come insurance. These are the triple benefit scheme which are given to the teacher. So should be introduced in all the states. What are the three benefit scheme? Pension come provident fund come insurance. So this is about the teacher personnel. Arbitration boards or committees should be established to look into the appels and grievances of the teachers. The age of the retirement in the case of physical fit and the competent teachers may be extended to 60 with the approval of the educator of the educator of education. So if the a teacher is fit enough, so he or she can be be in the education field, in the teaching field for up to 60 years. The children of the teachers should be given free education throughout the school stage. Though a system of cooperative houses, house building societies, teachers should be provided with the quarters so as to enable them to live near the school. The practice of private tuitions by teachers should be abolished. So there are nice things which came up in those days. I don't think they are still um, can be seen nowadays. Teacher training is also another thing. Improvement of teaching personnel have few of the points. Teacher should be trained 1 year and her qualification should be up to the mark. How they were, fitting into for what type of teachers they are fitting into as they are taking into as a teacher. So that should be checked. And the third one is the three scheme benefit scheme, that is pension come provident fund come insurance should be given to the teacher. For children who has teacher to who has children, not should be taken no fee, because teacher should be given free children's of the teacher should be given the free education. That's why there is no fee for them. And also they should be provided with the quarters so that they can live near the school and practice the private tuitions by teachers should be abolished. So not taking the school teachers from the another institutions. So how the teacher training should be given? There should be only two types of institutions for teacher training. For one, those who have taken the school leaving certificate or higher secondary school leaving certificate. Those two people only can give only can opt for the teacher training thing. For graduates for whom the training may for the present be one of the academic year but extended as long term program, the 2 academic years. During this period of training, all the student teachers should be given suitable stipends by the state. All training colleges should provide adequate residential facilities. 18th point comes like organization and administration. There should be a broad board of secondary education consisting of not more than 25 members, with the director of education as its chairman to deal with all matters of education, the secondary stage, and to lay down general policies. A subcommittee of the board should deal with the conduct of examinations, and the state advisory board should be conducted in each state to advise the Department of Education on all matters pertaining to education. Here there are if you look here there are 2 points mainly. The border of secondary education, state. So, 25 members with the director of education. Education consisting of not more than 25 members. That is what it is. A subcommittee of the board should deal with the conduct of examination. Examinations will be taken care by the subcommittee of the board. State advisory board, what will they do? Should be constituted in each state to advise the Department of Education on all matters pertaining to anything depending on the educations. Inspection of schools. The true role of an inspector should be to study the problems of each school and view them comprehensively in the context of the educational objectives. Not out of that. To formulate suggestions for improvement and help the teachers to carry out his advice and recommendations. In addition to direct recruitment, inspectors should also be drawn from teachers of 10 years experience or headmasters of high schools. So, who can be the inspector of the schools here? Who teachers who have 10 years of experience can do the job, or headmasters of the high schools can also do the job. UL qualified staff of training colleges who may be allowed to work as such for a period of 3 to 5 years. Management of schools. Managements of schools. The managing boards of all schools should be registered and should consist of a limited number of persons with the headmaster as an ex officio member. No member of the managing board should directly or indirectly or interfere with the internal administration of the school. So, nobody should cross the line from their given positions. Nobody should interfere with the internal administration of the school. Managing of the school, the managed boards of all schools should be registered and should consist of only limited persons. How should be the school building and the equipment should be? The open spaces available in the cities must be conserved to be utilized as a playground by group of schools. Normally, in designing buildings for schools, care should be taken to see that an area of not less than 10 square feet is provided per student in the classroom. So that it is length of a classroom. The optimum number of boys to be admitted to any school should be 30 and the maximum should not in any case exceed 40. The optimum number in the whole school should be 500 while the maximum should not exceed 750. It is a count of the students in those days. Hours of working and vacations. As a rule, the total number of working days in the school should be less than 200. The working hours per week should be at least 35 periods of about 45 minutes each. So, every class has 45 minutes. The school should work regularly for 6 days in a week. One of the days should be half a day, that is Saturday, when the teachers and the students might meet informally and work together on a various extracurricular and social projects. That half a day is meant for extracurricular activities. Normally, during the year, there should be summer vacation of 2 months and 2 breaks of 10 to 15 days at suitable periods during the year. This is about the vacation and how many hours to work. Next comes finance. A cess called the Industrial Education Cess be levied, the amount collected to be utilized for the furtherance of technical and vocational education at the secondary stage. The center should assume a certain amount of direct responsibility for the contemplated reorganization of secondary education and given financial aid for the purpose. So this is all about the Radha Krishna Commission, which is also called as a Secondary Education Commission, and it was about from 1952 to 53. So this is an important question which has generally asked. It is asked as what are the major recommendations of the University Education Commission appointed under the chairmanship of Dr. Radha Krishna, or it can be asked what are the major recommendations of the Secondary Education Commission appointed under the chairmanship of Dr. Muralidharan. The Radha Krishnan Commission recommended the hello. So, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Recommended the cultivation of the Indian languages and the study of English to the school level. It recommended that the medium of the instruction be English at the higher level. It also recommended that the study of at least three languages, the regional language of the federal language and English, at least to read books in English by taught in schools and colleges. It also recommended a 3-year first degree program and the delinking of the university degree. From Government Administrative Service, the University Education Commission report is an important landmark in the history of the higher education. That is why it is asked multiple times. So please look into all these topics. There are totally 23 in the Secondary Education Commission, which is from 1952 to 53. It is not that you won't get the other commissions also. Yes, you do get, but I think this will be asked mostly. So you have the Kotari Commission and the Sargent Commission. Next, so what are the changes are there in that committee and this committee? Is none like they're all the same things mostly. So it is a bit kind of confusing. So it's better you concentrate at least on two main committees. So you'll definitely get one of them. So there is also an important topic called NPE, which is nothing but National Policy on Education. And this was under in the year of 1968. The Education Commission recommended that the government of India should issue a statement on the national policy on education. This one will also might be, you may get in the examinations. Language planning in India can be used to have arrived at a crucial stage in the 1960s actually. The Conference of Chief Ministers held in 1961 recommended the three language formula. This meant the regional language or the mother tongue when different from the regional languages. Second is Hindi or any other Indian languages in Hindi speaking areas. The third is English or any other European languages. This is an important point which you have to, understand. These are the three languages is nothing but one is a regional language or the mother tongue. So in every area, if we take in Tamil Nadu, they speak in Tamil. So their regional language becomes, mother tongue becomes Tamil. So that's why it is said as the regional language or the mother tongue. The first point. This is how the planning of the languages in India. This has laid the foundation actually. So after this is all after independence. Language planning in India can be crucial actually. This was held in the 1960s. The whoever in the committees, in the conferences, they have decided completely as it should be as a three formula teaching. The three formula teaching is that one is regional language, the second is Hindi. In our childhood, we studied like what is our national language, that is Hindi. I think it has taken away now. There is no national language now, I guess, but I'm not sure. But when I was a child, I studied like in Hindi is a national language. So second comes is Hindi or any other Indian languages. So this is the second point. And the third point is English or any other European language, that may be French, Spanish, like that. So this is three formula planning which laid the foundation. So three languages formula was also this also have some again add-ons and subtractions here in these committees gradually by other person who were newly introduced by the other commissions like in the Kottari commissions and all. So but the main thing which had laid the foundation is these three. This teaching has started from the post independence. One is regional language or mother language, second is Hindi, second is, and the third one is English. These are the three in language formula. The commission said the English should continue as a library language and the channel of international communication. Two major recommendations were regard to the study of English, where English should be the medium of instruction in all major universities, and special units should be set up for English teaching as a language skill, as distinct from the language as a literature. So the commission also emphasized on how to teach and where to teach, how much to teach in the about the English thing. So the commission said that English should continue as a library language, and also the channel. Channel for what? For the communication in the international level. The two major recommendations were regard of the study of the English. So for the language of the English, it should be the library language, and also for the communication of purpose internationally, globally. And the two recommendations of English language wherein you take in the studies matter educationally, English should be the medium of instruction in all the major universities. And special units should be set up for teaching English as a language skill, as distinct from the teaching as it is in the literature. So it should not be taught as a literature, but as a language skill. So English language is definitely a skill. So it has to be taught as just as a skill, but not as a literature. So when I said there is a topic called NPE, that is National Policy on Education. The Education Commission recommended that the government of India should issue a statement on the NPE and National Policy on Education, which will provide guidance of the state governments and local authorities in preparing and implementing educational plans. So accordingly, in 1967, that means before NP has come up with the new developments, the government of India constituted a committee to prepare a document on the national policy on education. This document was published in 1968. The principles of developments in the education has given much importance. Though, what are the principles of developments of education is nothing but free and compulsory education. These are the developments were provided by the natural policy of education. Status, emoluments, and education of teachers. Developments of languages, and also the regional languages. And also the three languages formula was given much importance in this NPE. Equalization and educational opportunities, identification of talent, work experience and a national service, science education and research, education for agriculture and industry, production of books, examinations, secondary education, university education, part-time education, and correspondence courses, what we are into now, spread of literacy, and adult education, games and sports, education of minorities, the education structure, and also the educational structure. These are the important principles and or developments which were done by the education system of a national policy on education. So what are the principles and developments taken up by the national policy education in 1962 or nothing but the free and the compulsory education. The effort should be made for the early fulfillment of the directive principle under Article 45 of the Constitution, seeking to provide free and compulsory education for all the children up to the age of 14. Suitable programs should be developed to reduce the privilege wastage and stagnation in schools, and to ensure to every child who is enrolled in schools successfully completes the prescribed courses. One is giving free education. When the free education is there, there is a bundle of children comes into the education system. So there should be no stagnant or no wastage there. So children, every child should who is enrolled in the school successfully should be seen that they have successfully completes the prescribed courses. So, status, monuments, and education of teachers. So, of all the factors which determine the quality of education and its contribution to national development, the teacher is undoubtedly the most important one. It is on his personal qualities and character, his educational qualities and professional competence that the success of all educational endeavor must ultimately depend. So here ultimately teacher is the center of the attraction. Teacher should be taken care, like he should be possessing the personal qualities and the character, the good character, his educational qualification, the personal competence, and the success of the educational endeavor must ultimately demand teachers be accorded an honored place in the society. Their emoluments and other service conditions should be adequate and satisfactory, having regard to their qualifications and responsibilities. The academic freedom of teachers to pursue and publish independent studies and research and to speak right about significant national and international issues should be protected. Teacher education, particularly in service education, should receive due emphasis. So this is all about what the status of the teacher, emoluments, and what is the education of the teacher should be. Development of languages, and we already discussed. They are giving so much of importance to this three formula thing, three language formula. That is nothing but regional language, Hindi language, and English language. Regional language is mother tongue. So the energetic development of Indian languages and literature of educational and cultural development. Unless this is done, the creative energies of the people will not be released. Standards of education will not improve. Knowledge will not spread to the people. And the gulf between the intelligentsia and the masses will remain, if not widen further. The relational languages are already in use as a media of education at the primary and the secondary stages. Urgent steps should now be taken to adopt them as a media of education at the university stage. Three language formula at the secondary stage, the state government should adopt and vigorously implement preferable one of the southern languages apart from Hindi and English. In the Hindi speaking states of Hindi along with the regional languages and English on the non-Hindi speaking states. Suitable courses in Hindi and or in English should be also be available in the universities and colleges with the view to improving the proficiency of the students in these languages up to the prescribed university standards. Hindi, every effort should be made to promote the development of Hindi as the link language. Due care should be taken to ensure that it will serve as a provided for the constitution as a medium of expression for all the elements of the other institutions of the higher education which use Hindi as a medium of education should be encouraged. And the next is Sanskrit. Considering the special importance of the Sanskrit to the growth and the development of Indian languages and its unique contribution to the cultural unity of the country, facilities for its teaching at the school and the university stages should be offered on a more liberal scale. Development of new methods of teaching the language should be encouraged and the possible explode of including the study of Sanskrit in those courses, such as modern Indian languages or ancient Indian history, Indiology, Indian philosophy. At the first, the languages, second degree stages, and where such knowledge is useful, which is international languages. Special emphasis needs to be laid on the study of English and other international languages. World knowledge is growing at a tremendous pace, especially in science and technology. India must not only keep up this growth, but should also make sure on her own significant contribution for it. For this purpose, the study of English deserves to be specially strengthened. So these three languages, what is we discussed about three language formula. One is Hindi, second is Sanskrit or Telugu, and third one is English. So English is you can say it as an international language. So English and the other international language, whatever the international language you are learning, worldwide is growing as it is growing tremendously. India must not only keep up this growth, but should also make her own significant contribution. For this purpose, the study of English is needed. Equalization of educational opportunities. Strenuous effort should be made to equalize education opportunities. Regional imbalances in the provision of educational facility should be corrected. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
1 second. Hello? Can you hear me? Sorry, there was a power cut.
Yes, ma'am. We
Yeah,
can hear
there's
you.
there's a glitch in the technical things. So you try to bear me because I'm out of the state now, but still taking classes. So you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the PPT?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You can see right now.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
it visible now? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So in the identify phase, we discussed about the what do you call this secondary education commission. So this was multiple times asked. So I've put a stress on it, and then let's look into this second half of the second 20th century on overview. So, what happened after independence? India is a multilingual country. We all know that. And how many languages were spoken in this in India? Officially, it was 18 in that period, and three more added, I guess, like Konkani and Manipuri and Nepali. So officially, India is when we talk about India, India is a multilingual country. In the basis of language, it is a multilinguistic country. So 18 official languages, which are Assami, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi. Hindi has various dialects like Urdu. So some Hindis are different. If you see Gujarati in Maharashtra, so in such places, everybody speaks Hindi, but in different dialect. In Hindi, there is another different dialect called Urdu. So Hindi has many dialects. And then other languages like Kannada, Kashmiri, Malayalam, Marathi, Oriya, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, all these official languages. And in these official languages, there were three more added like Nepali, Konkani, and Manipuri. So now, does India has a common language? No, India never has a common language. So, so when India has many languages, so what can be the national languages? It is very difficult to choose a single language as a national language. So it is always under the basis of majority of people speaking. English has become English has said as a global language because majority of the people, majority of the country, cities are speaking English. That's why English has become a global language. When it comes to India, what is a common language? Now, before it was Hindi because most of the states of the cities are spoken Hindi language. So now it is different. If it is a different Telugu as also has their states. There are so many people speaking Tamil, Telugu. So there is also a discussion like the Hindi should not be the national language. I guess that it is not the national language now in this scenario. So India never had a common language since it was not a politically undefined country. So politically, it was not a defined country. That's why was no common language for India like it is today. Before British colonial rule, Sanskrit was a common language. Right? We have already discussed about it. So British colonial rule, Sanskrit was a common language. So as we discussed before our classes, our first class was about the Aryans who invaded, like who came to India through this Indus side region. So Aryan were the people who were talking Sanskrit language. So those periods, Sanskrit was a common language. We can agree because there were so many people speaking Sanskrit. By the time there was no Hindi, much Hindi speaking people there. So Sanskrit could be said as a common language of the Indian subcontinent in those periods. But it was a language of the learned classes, not it is a language of the learned classes, higher classes, not the language of the common people. English today, like Sanskrit in the past, has become not today also. So in your textbook, it is saying today. Those were the times where English also spoken by the classed people, like higher classed people. It has spoken by the high class people, and not the nobody in the common people were speaking English. Same like the Sanskrit was also the language for the learned class people. So now there is nothing like classed people or poor people. Everybody is speaking English. It is a different scenario now. Maybe you'll get new books as the days passing, but it is still in your books. It is still written that in English today, like Sanskrit in the past. But it is not the same scenario now. Okay, but let us come into our topic. Has become a lingua franca or a sort of a link language. Lingua franca is mostly repeated term in your textbook. So you try to mention this term in your answers when you're writing about the English language. It is a link language, but again restricted to the English education in urban class and the rural classes. Some people say that English is a link language, but it is not linked to the rural people I mean, to the masses in that period. Some people say that English is not linked to the rural people. At best, it gives all language groups in India a common disadvantage. It has become the official, associate, additional language. India has always had the problem of the common language. As Jawaharlal Nehru said during the parliament session in 1956, what he said about the Indian languages, let us see into it. He said that I recognize that the language of the people is a vital matter for their development, whether it is education or administration or any other matter. But there is a distinct between developing the language to the fullest extent and their passion for building up a wall around a linguistic area and calling it a burden. I completely accept the statement that people cannot really grow except through their language, but it does not follow that in order to make their language grow, a barrier must be erected between them and others. These were the words spoken by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1956 about the Indian languages. So, the government policy to make India free of English So these were the discussions. There was the words spoken when their committee was discussing whether the English should be, whether India should be the English-free country within a generation, but it declared again for a definite period. I do not know how long. I would have English as an associate additional language, which can be used not because of the facilities and all that, but because I do not wish the people of non-Hindi areas to feel that certain doors of advance are closed to them because they are forced to correspond. The government, I mean in the Hindi language, they can correspond in English. So I would have it as an alternative language as long as the people require it, and the decision for that I would leave not to Hindi knowing people but non Hindi knowing people. So this was a speech he has given August 7th, 1959. So this is all about the languages that we were uh, discussing, about the Indian languages that we were discussing. So not only English continues as a, it is nothing but when you understand English was recognized as an official associate language, whether to be recognized as as associate official language or not. There was an initial resistance to the language of the rulers to be continued even after the independence of the English became necessary in view of the situation in the non-Hindi speaking areas. That's why we studied about the topic when in the globalization. So you cannot there was a statement before our European leaders, British leaders has posted English, sorry, Indian in blood and English in color and taste. So that has taken away when it is in a post-independence. When we are talking about the colonialism, neo-colonialism, then there I spoke about this topic, which is that whether after the lot of committees and commissions were raised, when all our rulers were discussing about the languages, which languages and what language to be introduced, and English whether should be the part of in India or it should be a free India without English. So when these all discussions happen, and then they thereby situated with the standardized education system in the bureaucratic level and in the education level. In the bureaucratic level, when they are speaking about English should be the medium of instruction, but it has given the importance as much as the native languages also. So they said there in the neocolonialism, they said that Indian by blood and Indian by taste and color. So that means English should be only the market-driven, ideology-driven, personality-driven language, but not just completely worshipping the English language. So that's that's the point, that the dots you can you cross the dots there. So English continued to grow as a language of administration. So because the committees and the commissions were also written in English, by the time everybody is speaking in English after the independence also. So it is inseparable. So you cannot separate English language and Indians. Even though after Britishers are going away from the land, you are not able to separate them, the language and Indians. So it has set as like Indian English should be there in the administration level, in the judiciary, like bureaucratic level, and the education system. So it then decided by so whatever the lines I've said before were the lines spoken by the Nehru. English was recognized as an official associate language then. Then there was an initial resistance. So after deciding also, there was much resistance for the language, English language, by the rulers, because they were facing so much of Indian rulers, not about the other rulers, to be continued even after independence. But English became necessary in view of situation. in the non-Hindi speaking areas. So what happened? People who were not speaking Hindi, for example, but we are speaking in English. So it is becoming easy to communicate. So people who don't know Hindi, but they know English. People who don't know Telugu, but they know English. So for example, if you take the north side, people speak north. If you take the south side, people speak the Dravidian languages. So Dravidian languages know the common language is English, and the Hindi people speaking know the language called English. So everybody can were able to communicate after the independence only because of the language called English. Because by then there was also there was English language introduced into the educational systems in the universities, the three universities we were discussed. So Britishers ruled here. It is not just one day, they ruled so many years. So after they left, English can was not able to go with them, because in India we ourselves were talking in the common language called English, because there were non-Hindi speakers and there were non-regional speakers. So for all of them, the common language became English. So the communication barrier was, there was no communication barrier. They were doing the communication thing in English. So it was becoming very difficult to take English language out of the country. So English became necessary in view of the situation in which of non-Hindi speaking areas, also in Hindi speaking areas. English continued to grow as a language of administration, judiciary, education, since Indian languages got crippled during the British rule, not now. A number of very important issues were taken up for the clarification, and the result was appointed of more committees and commissions, because so when you when there is a question arises, why of these committees and commissions? Because of this barrier, when they don't wanted to, English is growing enormously day by day, because of that, the common thing there for the communication. So they wanted to, sorry, cut it down there itself. They wanted to stop the growing of English there. So as it growing rapidly, they wanted to cut it down there. So then because of that reason, came up with the committees and commissions. When they came up with the committees and commissions, then you will have some rules and regulations, some standardization, when to speak, where to speak, what to speak. So these committees standardizations commissions tells us, education is English is only in the bureaucratic level, for writing purpose, for speaking purpose in the education system. For example, in the libraries, it should be a multi-driven. That means for the career purpose, for identifying purpose of who you are, what you are, what you are doing, what you studied. So for identification purpose, so English language, that forcefully they are coming up with the commissions and committees, so that English will be, they can stop the rapid growing of the English language in our subcontinent. So when you're talking about University Education Commission, English, they say that English has become so much part of our national habit. It becomes our habitat. In the same, like how we breathe. Points out of the use of English has divided the people into two nations. A few how govern, and the many who governed. So who is ruling and who are they ruling? So these two people has become the two nations. So then the divided the people into two nations, and mutually uncomprehending, which is a uh, negative of democracy. This becomes a negation of the democracy. It is interesting to note that after political independence, the University Educational Commission, popularly known as the Radhakrishna Commission, was appointed. First, towards the end of the 1948. So we got independence in 1947. Then the Radhakrishna Commission came up in the year 1948. The Committee on a Primary Education only in 1951 and the Secondary Education Commission in 1952. It is interesting to note that the importance of the recommendation found in the reports of the committee written after 1947 and found the reports of the committees written in 1947. The Indian Education Commission, also called the Hunter Commission, made recommendations for the improvement of the primary education. The Calcutta University, we all discussed how many 3 universities we have, the main important universities, all the universities in Mumbai, in Calcutta, in Madras. So these 3 universities were working only on the in the education system, the education in the primary level and the secondary level. The education of the children in primary schools be based upon natural interest and activities and less upon book learning. And the curriculum of the rural middle school be closely related to the environment, that is agriculture. We discussed of agriculture environment of the children, that is agriculture. The mother tongue, as far as possible, be the medium of instruction through the higher school stage, but English be a compulsory language for all the pupils at this stage. The teaching of English be made more realistic. So the 3 commissions what we were discussing were the Sargent Committee and the Kothari Commission and Secondary Education Commission. These 3 things. In these 3 things, we already discussed about the secondary Education Commission. Right? And what is Sargent Commission? Sargent Commission was in the year 1944, recommended that the system of universal, compulsory, and the free education for all boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 14. The number in every committee when they are talking about the education for the children is only about 6 and 14. So that blindly you have to put it in your mind, be implemented. Okay, be implemented, and that the medium of instruction be the mother tongue of the pupils. So what is there in the Sargent Committee? It is giving much weightage for the co-education. So, and the number should be from 6 years to 14 years. And the medium of instruction be the mother tongue of the pupils. Whatever is the mother tongue, the medium of instruction should be given to the children in their mother tongue. The committee also recommended the need of training teachers and recommended the starting of new training colleges. It also suggested refresher courses for all teachers. New courses, refresher is nothing but new course, particularly for those in remote rural areas. So it is much of concentrating into the Indian ethnic system. Indian nativity, it is talking about much of a Indian nativity. More or less the same or similar recommendations are found in reports admitted by the committees and commissions in Free India. So that's what I discussed. Nevertheless, all the commissions and sections are mostly unlikely, same with comparing to each other. So the University Education Commission head is who is a University Education Commission's head? That is Dr. Radhakrishnan. He is the head of the University Education Commission, conceived of the role of the university education in board. Universal its terms and emphasizing goals like the awakening of the innate ability of men and women to live the life of the soul of developing wisdom, training for the self-development and the development of values like fearlessness of mind, strength of conscience, and integrity of purpose. These 3 things, rather than specifying the goals in relation to the immediate socio-political, economic, and linguistic concepts context in post-independence India. The commission did not go into details containing itself with general, often vague formulations. With regard to the medium of instruction, the commission said, which commission? But the Sargent Commission said for the medium of instruction for higher education, English be replaced as early as practicable by an Indian language, which cannot be Sanskrit on account of the vital difficulties. That this Indian language should be Hindi was not made explicit through the commission took in that Hindi would be federal language of the Union. The commission, however, recommended that English should be continued to be studied in the high schools and universities in order that we may keep in touch with the live stream of every growing knowledge. That means internationally. Another example of the commission's failure to go into details is that while recommending that pupils at the higher secondary and university stages be conversant and three languages, the regional language, the federal language, and the English. The last one, in order to acquire the ability of the textbooks, read books, which is nothing but the read books. It did not examine the question of different learning loads. The load obviously would be lighter in the universities where the religion language was the same as a federal language. With regard to the women's education, the commission merely said women students in general should be helped to see their normal place in the normal society, both as citizens, as a woman, and to prepare for it. College program should be so designed that it will be possible for them to do so. How it has to be done is not specified. Then the Kothari Commission. The sixth commission to be submit recommendations on education in free India is Kothari. The three language formula recommended by the Conference of Chief Ministers held in 1961. This meant the regional language or the mother tongue where it is different from the regional language Hindi or any other language, and English. The main intentions of these three formula was to make the load of the language learning equal in all parts of the country and to achieve national integration. But it was, to say the least, an unrealistic formula for the educational point of view. Since, okay, educational point of view, but it was at least an unrealistic formula from the educational point of view, since it ignored both the lack of motivation among students in the Hindi speaking north to learn any other language and the motivation among the students in Hindi speaking. Perhaps the continuing political opposition in Tamil Nadu to the introduction of Hindi. No wonder the three language formula was not uniformly adopted to any rate, not in areas where it mattered most. In some states like Tamil Nadu, it became two language formula. In some states in practice, it was one language formula. This Kothari Commission said that English should continue as a library language and as a channel of international communication, and that is reasonable degree for the proficiency of English was to be stipulated as essential for the award of the degree. English for those who opt for it, and English for those who opt for it from class 5, 6 years, and class 8 for 3 years. So English language, as we know that it became an official associate language after the independence. At the ground level, English education and English medium school institutions multiplied many times, and there was no way of stopping the spread of the English. These commissions, what are three commissions that we discussed? The commissions recommended that medium of institutions to be the mother tongue, but the marked forces were in favor of English. The colonial rule that crippled Indian languages, and they were not equipped to take over from English. The media and the global market helped the expansion of the English. English in India got a separate identity that favored English, and English not got institutionalized. So when you're talking about the commissions, so Radha Krishna was the head of the Indian Educational Commission. So he also has his recommendations. You can go through your textbooks. He spoke about the aims of the education's teaching staff. Everybody spoke the same things. Standard of teaching, course of study, post graduation teaching and training and research, professional education, religious and moral instruction were given importance in all the commissions, whether it is a Kottari Commission or the Secondary Education Commission, which was taken by Mudalayar. Lakshmi Narayan Mudalayar, all spoke about the same things. So it's kind of confusing. So remember properly. Just concentrate on the two special committees, that is Secondary Commission and the Kottari Commission. You may get in a small answer or a big answer. I most probably hoping that you will get the Secondary Education Commission in your big answer. So because that has laid the foundation, and that's why I gave much importance to that, and I've given you the PPT also. They are completely 20, I guess 23. 22 or 23 other. And if you talk about the Radha Krishna Commission, also you have 14. And no matter the name is different, but everybody is talking about mainly on the emphasis of the mother medium of instruction should be given in the mother tongue, so that the knowledge the knowledge will be reached to many people. If it is in English, only the English understanding people or English knowing people only will understand the thing, whatever there in the textbook. But if you teach in the mother language, the knowledge will be reached to the wider perspective. So they were concentrating on that. They were concentrating on the co-ed education, and they were concentrating on the teaching things. So how the teacher should be, and what the teacher, the facilities should be given to the teacher. So all these things, and the recommendations in the Radha Commission is nothing but again the students, their activities. So women's education given importance, rural activities. When you are talking about rural education, they give much importance for the agriculture. So it's nothing but the life skills. Extracurricular activities are also given much importance. Religious education and moral instruction. So here, when I was in a school, we had a special class for that is called moral instruction. So there they will be concentrating on your character. I mean, you should not, it is nothing but how good should be your character. That means not lying, obeying your parents. So any religion teaches us to obey parents. Any religion teaches us to be, confined to our good character, to be civic. So religion and moral instruction should also given much importance. In all the committees, they are speaking about the religion and moral instructions, and we can see till our age we had that subject, especially that subject we do have. There are lessons for that. There is a nice lesson for that. In the end, you will get a moral, and the teacher will teach you what is the moral of the story and how you should be. And for example, if you lied something, and you confess it, you say sorry, you apologize, and you move on. So something like that. Nowadays, you don't find the moral instruction classes in this era, but in those time, the committees and commissions are speaking about the moral and religious education, improvement in teaching personnel, physical education, sports are also given importance, and management of school, how the management of school should be, the board of management should be, how the school building and the classes, the equipment, the classroom length and the school length, how many students should be there. Minimum it is, maximum it is 750, minimum it is 500. So, and then we are talking about national education policy. And tomorrow we'll discuss about the Acharya Ramamurthy Commission, Curriculum Development Center rather, and the National Commission policy. We'll get into that topic also. We'll discuss that, and we'll also discuss some important questions because tomorrow will be our last class. I think it's already, we're up with the time. How much? What is the time now? I think, oh God, it's 3. I'll wind up the class here. Let me take a screenshot. Right. Okay, I'll wind up the class. It was a nice session. Tomorrow we'll talk about the Acharya Ramurthy Commission, and also we'll discuss some important questions because tomorrow will be our last class. Any questions, any queries, you please ask me for tomorrow. All right. Okay, have a nice day. I'll end up the class now. Bye, take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.